it started without me. And I think I'm live, maybe. Hopefully. Oh, according to this, I've been live this whole time. You've been watching me quietly sit here and chop things. But now is the actual live time, so... Good question. Am I actually live where I'm supposed to be live? I have no idea. Only one way to find out. Anyhow, so let's see here. Yep, nope, I'm live. Whether or not I'm supposed to be live there or elsewhere beats me. And YouTube has not been good about letting me know these things, so hopefully y'all will find me. Anyhow, and we can go from there. Ah, Stephen, thank you for letting me know that. My microphone is in a weird place, so let's see here. Go back to the actual thing I'm using. Okay. And stop. Right, hopefully that helps because the microphone is in a strange place and it's only going to get worse before it gets better. Okay, so I'm going to move this closer to me and I'm going to talk to you for a minute and then you're going to tell me if you can hear me better. If you can, then what I'm going to do is set the microphone down someplace else. I'm just kind of waiting now to hear. So I do have some adjustment parameters. Because I tested and it sounded okay, and now I'm not seeing any responses at all, so that helped. Okay, good to know. It may get worse because I am going to be running. Okay, so I'll leave it there. It's in screen, but I don't really care. I'm going to be running the stand mixer at some point, so that's going to drown everything out, I'm sure. But to begin with, I am making the demon cake from Miss Parloa's new cookbook, and I have butter, 1 cup of butter, and I'm going to be creaming that. One of the things of butter is actually room temperature. The other one is not, but that just means it'll take a little longer. I wouldn't want to have to do that by hand, but this is why some clever engineer somewhere invented the stand mixer. Now that would be an interesting bit of history to look up, because I don't know who and where or when. I know KitchenAid was based in Ohio, and one of the things that I wanted to do at one point was go and tour the factory, and I gathered that they have a bit of a museum there, which would be really cool. And of course, it's one of those things that you mean to do and you don't get around to it. So, yes, there's a balloon on my stand mixer. I'm aware. It's an elderly mixer. It was given to me broken. It doesn't stay off. So the balloon's actually holding back the speed lever over here, which if I let go abruptly, it jumps out of control. So, cream that butter up. It shouldn't take too long, and I'm going to try and keep talking, and hopefully y'all can hear me. Of course, I say y'all, and I'm seeing Steven and nobody else, so I'm wondering if I'm on the wrong video, and I can't fix it right now. I literally can't reach the laptop well enough from this side of the counter to do a whole lot with it. So hopefully anybody else that wants to watch this will find it. So we've done butter. Now I need to do a cup of sugar, which is going to be fun because I have the microphone sitting on top of the sugar currently. I did not think this through. So I'm going to put the microphone on top of the flour, go to the sugar. And usually when I'm doing a cooking video, I get all spiffy and I do my mise en place, and I'm not trying to juggle. Oh, thank you, Stephen. That's good to know. But today, I had to come home from work and I needed to decompress for a while. And once that was done, I realized, oh crap, I need to get everything ready so that I can do this. But I really want to do the demon cake today because I have a bunch of, oh, thank you, Doug. I have a bunch of stuff to get done today and tomorrow. So I will do the demon cake, and I will at least begin to butcher out the lamb. So what I'm doing with the lamb, and I might as well talk to you guys a little bit while I'm doing this. What I'm doing with the lamb is I'm making souvlaki. Now I would normally buy chunks of meat to do souvlaki, but in this case, when we went to the Middle Eastern market, what they had for lamb was all halal, which is lovely, I'm sure, but it was expensive. And I understand why. There's a lot more protocol involved in halal butchering. But I didn't want to pay $13 a pound for lamb. Especially not right now. So I just done 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of sugar, and I'm about to do 1 cup of molasses. And thank you, Doug. Yeah, hopefully Mom will see it. I've let her know, but sometimes if she goes to bed early, she catches these on the flip side after they're not live anymore. Also, I inadvertently took this live before I realized I was taking it live. So if anybody watching the video later comes in, there's going to be about 5 minutes of me just quietly standing here chopping ginger. So, yeah, the lamb, I wanted pieces, and I wasn't going to have time to run around to all the different markets and shop for lamb. And we have a lot of markets in the area. I knew that I could probably pick some up at the Asian market, and it was like $8 or $9 a pound there. Well, my dear husband ran around to a couple of the carnicerias, Mexican meat markets, and came up with lamb at less than $7 a pound, which was about half what I would have paid for the halal. The kicker is that it is a quarter of a lamb. So that is going to be a big butchering job, and I'm not going to get through all of it on screen, nor am I going to attempt to butcher out the whole thing. That is, I think, about 10 pounds of meat, and I'm probably going to break it down into smaller pieces, because souvlaki, you just need random bits and pieces of meat to thread on the skewer after they've been marinated and grill them. That's my plan. I'm going to do pork and lamb, so that if we have people that don't want lamb, they don't have to have lamb. And I'll keep those separate when I'm marinating so we can tell which is which. And so I have plenty of meat for however many people show up. But I'm going to have to get some of the meat off the bone and probably preserve a chunk or two. Like, I'm not sure how much butchering down I want to do on the ribs. We might wind up with a half a rack of ribs to do for lambs, or a rib rack roast. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to deal with that, but one thing at a time. And right now, that's getting the demon cake started. Again, you're going to hear variance in speeds because my mixer is elderly and quirky, and yeah. So I'm just trying to get the wet phase of the cake mixed up. And the funny thing about this was that I knew that was angel food cake. I did not know there was a demon cake until I saw it in Miss Parloa's cookbook. And I knew immediately that I was going to want to make it. However, what I did not have until I went to the liquor store and bought some was I did not have any brandy. So I have come home with the little bitty bottle of brandy, and hopefully y'all can read that. This wasn't like the smallest, but Sanford said he wanted Calvados because while we were going to have brandy to cook with, he also wanted to try drinking it. He did not remember brandy fondly. Sorry about that. And hi, Nico Fanatic. Not sure who you are, but that's okay. Screen names are fun. Mine has mostly just been my own name, but I used to use other names too, so I get the whole not letting on completely. So we have butter, sugar, molasses, and I'm about to break 2 eggs into this lot. Actually, no, I'm not. So that's the thing. What I'm going to do with this recipe is when I put it up on the blog, I'll break it into the phases that I'm actually going to be doing, which are the instructions that they give in Miss Parloa's book are brief at best. And one of the things that she does is she doesn't really put things in order. So something I like to do is I like to fat my spices. I always want to put the spices in with the... hello sir, thank you for joining. I always like to put my spices in with... Let me check my measurements here. I'm not used to doing a whole tablespoon of cinnamon. It seems like a lot of cinnamon, but hey. This is a spice cake and a half. Actually, it's a fruit cake technically, but the mixing the spices in with the lipids allows the aromatic molecules to be drawn fully out and into your flavoring thing. And I need more powdered ginger because that is getting really gosh darn low for me. I have these fun old spice jars that I picked up at a flea market, and they go beautifully with my Hoosier cabinet, which I can't use until I have another house. So that's a tablespoon of cinnamon and a tablespoon of ginger. And I'm going to put in a teaspoon. Miss Parloa calls for a half of a nutmeg grated. I'm not exactly sure what that translates to. And I'm not certain that I even have any whole nutmeg right now. I might. I'm looking at my spice rack if you're wondering. So I kind of was like, all right, let's go with a teaspoon and call that what a half a nutmeg would fluff up into if you grated it. So I also have baking soda and my other of the little fun glass. I don't know if you can see, these have an embossed label on them. I have 3 that I managed to pick up. 1 for pepper, 1 for soda, and 1 for ginger. Which I was delighted with because I love ginger and I bake with ginger, and my friend Brenna recently informed me that I'm the wooden ginger, and I have no idea how to take that one. Spice cloud. Inhale enough spice and I can bend the universe, right? Oh yeah, I can taste that already because it's gone up into my sinuses. If I start sneezing, that's why. Alright, so we have our spices in with the butter, sugar, molasses, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and I'm supposed to add 4 tablespoons of brandy. Ooh, that sounds lovely, Stephen. I will have to try that sometime. Brandy's a relatively new thing. My personal preference for mixed drink bases tends to be more like rum, and Sanford's tends to be whiskey. Yes, the spice must flow. And we occasionally get some oddball liqueurs and whatnot in the house. And I'm going to count. And I am ADD enough not to want to try and talk and do too much of this at the same time. And I'm afraid of what will happen if I set my mouth on autopilot and just keep talking. So 4 tablespoons of brandy. The recipe for this is technically already on my blog. There's an image from Miss Parloa's cookbook, but I will be posting my modernized version, a little bit translated in places, probably Sunday. I'm probably not going to have time to do it tomorrow, and I have a thing for the Mad Genius because, whoa, see, that's why I can't let it go too fast. Now I have brandy all over me. It's a good thing I'm not going anywhere tonight because I'm going to smell brandy-ish. Brandy, ginger, this is going to be fun. That makes an interesting mixture. It's a nice loose batter at this point, and it's only going to get looser when I throw the eggs in there. So, Mad Genius tomorrow is going to be me talking about, and yeah, I just ran egg all down the side of the mixer. I don't usually put it in on that side. What I need to get is one of those little funnel things that you strap on the side of the bowl. Just haven't bothered to do that. I finally, after a week of trying, the Rattel Saga is available in paperback. Let me get this beaten up here nice and fluffy. And I say again, the Rattel Saga is available in paperback. But it was a process. I can't say when I've had a paperback be this much of a pain in the tush to deal with. And so I'm running the collaborations, the anthology, the coloring books with Ian, with Law Dog. I keep outing him. I try not to. I'm really bad about that. Anyhow, the collaborations I am running through a company called PubShare. And PubShare is run by a lovely gentleman named Chuck Hunselman. And Chuck and I have been going back and forth because he's technically the publisher. All the royalties go through him. He breaks them out and sends the royalties by assigned percentage to the authors. Yeah, the guard would probably keep splashing down, and I definitely should do that. But anyhow, so running it through PubShare, it costs me 10% off the top of each project that goes through it, but that is well worth it for me not to have to deal with accounting and sending out royalties myself and keeping track of all of that. It all goes through Chuck, and Chuck is fantastic for customer service. I've been working with him off and on for a couple of years now, and he's always just right on top of things. And he was commiserating with me because I uploaded the wrong file twice, and that was a dumb thing to do, but that was a pretty quick fix. And then once we actually got the file to the point where it passes the initial pre-flight check that Amazon does, and you can see that, but then it goes into Amazon's system, and somebody, before they go send it to print, they look at the files and they have their own template, and it is not the same as the template that you see on your end when you're uploading into your publisher dashboard. So we bounced back and forth a good 4 or 5 times, and every time that process happens, it's almost 24-hour turnaround because it has to go. I'm pretty sure they're setting up the files in India. It has to go over there. It has to be looked at by a tech, not the same tech every time, which explains why it kept getting bounced back to me with different errors every single time. And I'm a little worried what the margins are going to look like when it's actually in print, because I kept having to move things around to make them happy. So hopefully it's okay. Nothing's cut off. We'll see. I've ordered a couple of copies retail because author copies are taking like a month right now to ship out from Amazon. So I just went on the retail side, bought copies, and if they're bad, then I'll yank it back and fix. But it's the fastest way I can get turnaround is just to spend retail, buy my own book. Anyhow, so I've got eggs, I've got all the other stuff going on here. The only thing that's going to go in here right now is, so Miss Parloa's book is from 1880, and it's a lot of fun because, I mean, that's Gilded Age, Victorian Age, and it's kind of cool to look at it and see the history. I mean, the difference in what we think of now versus what they think of as far as cooking and amounts. And I mean, part of the reason I'm making this now is because I can take this up to the North Texas Troublemakers dinner tomorrow night, and there'll be a bunch of people eating it, not just the three of us here in this little apartment. But the other thing is that what she's going to have me do is take the leavening agent, baking soda, and soak it in milk. Now, presumably, this was to start the leavening action, but it's just very different. Chocolate and cereal and nothing more. Oh dear, Doug, you're going to have sugar spun children. So I am mixing 2 tablespoons of milk with 2 tablespoons of milk with 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Whenever I do cooking videos with my son, he always yells at me because he's like, you forget to say amounts. I'm like, that's why we put the recipe in the thing, so I don't have to remember to say the amounts. I can think it. Anyhow. So I'm going to do Miss Parloa's recommended thing here and put my soda, I'm checking my amount, 1 teaspoon. I have the memory of a gnat. So honestly, if I don't check and double check, then yeah, things happen. Bad things happen. When I'm formulating in the lab, I'm going to do the same thing that I'm doing right now, which is I actually have a scratch pad over here that I'm looking at. Down here. You can't see it. It's behind the thing. And in the lab, I have a scratch sheet, and I'm working off of it step by step as I add things into my beakers, so that I make sure that I get everything in and all the amounts are right. I can't do that off the top of my head, especially not because some of the formulations I'm working with are like 20, 25 ingredients. There's no way I'd remember all that. So I have my milk and soda, and I'm going to go ahead and mix that in. One of the things that I thought about doing, Sanford and I had discussed it. Okay, that's interesting. Kind of baking soda sludgy on the bottom of the spoon there. Weird. I've never done that before, so that was different. We'll see how that comes out. All right. I'm gonna have to mess with the microphone again because I've got it on top of the flour, which I need now. In my postage stamp kitchen, I'm running out of space to put things. I'm going to swap out the flour, get real close to the microphone here, and then back it up again. Hi, Mom. Oh, I'm sorry. I was afraid that I'd double linked tonight. I didn't mean to, but I don't know. Technology and I don't get along. Oh no. Oh, koala. That's scared. Oh Lord. So as you will note, I didn't sift this today because I'm awful. No, seriously, I was out of time. It was been a long, weird day. I'm going to mix the flour in a little bit at a time. And, but I don't want to overmix. I'm using pastry flour. I may run out of pastry flour, and if I do, I'll finish the rest of it with all-purpose, because this is it for me in pastry flour right now. I need to pick up more, but I have a limited space, so yeah. It's frustrating because there's times, like the other day I was looking for something, and, oh, I know what I was doing. I was draining cucumber for the tzatziki sauce. And I could not, for the life of me, find. Well, I knew I sold my jelly strainer before I left Ohio because I don't anticipate canning it again. Of course, I did that, And I promptly got down here and had friends ask me if I would walk through canning and jelly and jam making with them and show them how to do it. They want to learn. And so now I kind of regret having gotten rid of the last of my canning stuff. I did keep my canning jars. Canning jars, the cord tied on the wapiti, and I like that word, is a balloon. And it's there because the speed controller is broken, so it pops. And if I don't have the balloon on there, it will be constantly running. So I'm actually reaching on the back and popping the balloon off and on for the speed controller. I don't know why I'm going to do that. That's bad cedar. Not that that's any better. I'm eyeballing the flour for the cake. 4.5 cups of flour in the cake. Yes, I've eyeballed it. Bad cedar, I know. But it looks right, so I'm going to go with that. Anyhow, I have to be careful with the controller because if I let go of it too quickly, it snaps back at me and it goes too fast, and then I wind up with flour everywhere. So I'm actually kind of happy with where this batter is, even though I didn't measure the flour properly, but it looks right. And RK made this and had reported that the cake that she made came out dry, and I'm trying to avoid that, so I am not going to add the full amount of flour because that will presumably keep this from coming out too dry. I just scraped down the sides. Yeah, geek engineering for sure. The problem is that this is, I think, well, it's probably not the last balloon I own, but it's almost. I gave away most of my balloons, and I'm going to have to come up with something else when this one dies. I've been told that I could repair this. In fact, when I was given this by a friend, his wife had upgraded to a nice new spiffy one, and this one was broken. And, I mean, I can control the brake. I've been told I could fix it. I am not mechanically inclined at all. And I love this thing, so I don't want to risk getting in there and messing it up. And this works, so geek engineering. Anyhow, I now have cake batter, and this took me about half an hour, which is about how long I told Sanford it was going to take me. I already have my pans prepped with silicone paper in them, and I have somewhat floury, which isn't going to hurt it any. I have dried cherries and preserved ginger, both of them chopped to be fairly fine. So the recipe calls for currants, and in America you can buy currants, but they're not currants. Currants are a kind of fruit, a berry, and they dry up and they look like a bit like a little dried blueberry, and you really can't find them easily here in the US without like special ordering them. If I still live close enough to Jungle Jim's, I could probably get them, maybe. I've actually seen fresh currants at Jungle Jim's, which delighted me no end, and I promptly bought some and brought them home, but that's a whole nother story. So I knew I wasn't going to get currants, and currants that you buy here in the US are actually small raisins or chopped raisins. Not at all the same thing, and Sanford did not want raisins anywhere near his cake. He does not like raisins at all. So he and I discussed it, and what I did was picked up some dried cherries, and I've chopped those up so they're going to go along with the ginger into this fruit cake, because that is what this is. The demon cake is a fruit cake. And I'm sure that some of you right now are thinking, well, yeah, we already knew that fruit cakes were possessed, and that's why they keep coming back year after year without getting eaten. Except this one is going to get eaten. Right now what I'm doing is I'm just mixing a little flour in with the fruit. I had spilled it on it, but it actually works really well to keep it, because it's been chopped and it got all sticky, and I'm breaking up lumps of fruit so I don't have big chunky bits. So, according to Miss Parloa, what I'm supposed to do is to use a deep pan, and I'm choosing to use loaf pans because that's what I've got. And she says to put the batter in there 2 inches deep. Now, if I put that in there 2 inches deep, I am not going to have much room to fit anything else in there, so I'm only going to do 1 inch. And I have 2 pans because that's what she says you need is 2 pans. So and like I said, I already prepped these. They have got silicone paper, parchment paper in them. The 1880s cookbook calls for paraffin paper, and paraffin is spelled with an E, which I believe is the English spelling. And not only do I not have that, I know what that is, and I don't want that. It's wax paper. And you could bake on wax paper, but you're going to get some wax in your food. And honestly, paraffin is not going to interact with the human body that much. You're just going to pass that through, but I don't know. I don't like the idea of chowing down on wax. Just doesn't sound good to me. So I have the technology to use this silicone impregnated parchment paper for my baking, and I actually use it fairly often because I really like it. Helps with cleanup. Taught my son the trick of brownies because he could not do brownies to save his life without getting them seriously stuck in the pan, and it didn't matter how much he greased. And yes, I saw him grease the pan a couple of times, over grease, still sticky brownies. But I taught him how to put a layer of silicone paper in the bottom of his pan, and he has had successful brownies ever since. And that is his favorite thing to make, so... Alright. I've got my batter. Let's see here. You can kind of see that. And that looks like it's less dry than the batter that RK was showing me, so I think probably going to a... slightly less flour because I eyeballed that instead of measuring that out. I also didn't take the time to sift my flour. So, but batter first. I'm going to do about 1 inch, I think. Or so. I want enough to be able to make layers because that's how it's supposed to be. Spooch that out a bit. Pardon me if I don't look at y'all while I'm doing this. Also, wearing black probably was not the best idea for remaining... Well, not that I have any pretensions of being sharp and professional on these videos. Alright, layer of fruit. I'm going to do about half the fruit in this first layer here. And another layer of batter. This is going to be interesting. Seems like I ought to end on a layer of batter rather than a layer of fruit for most successful baking. So I'm going to try and keep enough in there to do that. But I have dubious thoughts about the practicality of this recipe as it stands. It is what it is. It smells amazing. I mean, it's got a tablespoon of ginger in there, and between that and the molasses, it's just it's got a really great fragrance. And with all the candied ginger in the recipe too, it is going to be fabulous. Might be interesting, but it will be awesome. Oh yes, the candies and the wax drinks. I don't know that I ever saw those anyplace outside of a like the old-fashioned general store things. But in one of the towns up in New Hampshire, and it starts with an L, but it's not Londonderry. Can't remember what it is. There is the world record candy counter that's still in existence and running. You know where I live, or you know where somebody else lives. Um, anyhow, the candy counter in New Hampshire was kind of cool. I forget how long now it was, but world's longest. I'm sure you can look it up. And they had everything, all of the new candies and the old-fashioned candies and the everythings. And that was always a lot of fun to go to, especially when my kids were little. Ooh, I do not know if I'm going to manage to get a layer of batter on top of this that's going to actually like spread out, but we'll try. So the other thing that's fun about this is that these are supposed to cook for 2 hours in a moderate oven. Yay. I will be up a little later than I'd planned tonight, but that's okay. Alright. Get this done, clean up, do the lamb, keep talking to you all. So, this is fun. I mean, this is literally me noodling on and exploring a recipe while you all are watching me, so hey, if it screws up, well, you saw it. Squishies. I'm like a cat. I don't like dirty hands, so I'm going to get all sticky here, and then I'm immediately going to want to wash it off. Because oh, that's going to be fun anyway. Fruit, all the fruit. Yes, I'm definitely older than Steven. I knew that. Yeah, Mom always gives away my secrets. She was telling people yesterday I was blind, which I am, but I'm not only washing my hands, I'm also putting my little water on this bowl. So when I go to wash it later, it's not impossible. There's a lesson I need to teach my son. Rinse. Rinse all the things. Okay, so without tipping it out, I'm going to show you guys what this looks like before it goes in the oven. I cannot have chickens in an apartment, Joshua. Alright, that went in the oven at 7:36-ish, so I will plan to pull it back out around 9:30. I'm actually going to check on it before then. Yeah, I don't know if LASIK will work for me. I have an odd astigmatism, so I have wondered about that, but I've never actually made the inquiries. And cleaning up because oh no, house chickens. No. This is how we get the coronavirus or the swine flu or the bird flu or house chickens, house pigs. No. I'm kind of okay, sort of, with a cat and a dog. Both of ours stay off the counter. They're very good about that. I don't think the dog could get up to the counter level at her age. But, no chickens, no pigs in the house. I remember a friend when I was young had ferrets, and man, were they stinky. So no ferrets. We told my daughter no snakes. We're like, you can move out and be on your own, doing your own thing, and then you can have snakes. But no snakes in our house. I don't think I ever got asked if we could keep a tarantula. I wouldn't have said yes, but less opposed to a tarantula than some things. So. I am going to clean up some of the sticky off my counter. I'm not doing a full-fledged proper clean. Part of the reason that I was talking about doing the cake was that I did not want to do the meat and then do the cake on the same counter without a proper clean, and I don't have time to do a proper clean and talk to y'all at the same time. So what I'm going to be doing now, after I've wiped down the sticky, is actually putting a cutting board down here, or maybe 2 cutting boards, because that's a lot of meat. Trying to break down that much meat in my pocket handkerchief kitchen. With evidently no clean kitchen rags. Okay, good to know. Yay? Sort of, maybe? Okay, we're gonna do this. And then we're gonna do that. Because I'm gonna use my son's present to me. And I have my cleaver. Because I'm gonna need that, I think. Alright, I have kitchen shears. Kitchen shears are amazing for butchering. I do not have an ulu any longer. If I did, it would be right here with me. I keep meaning to get another ulu and I haven't gotten around to it yet. But so ulu are a native Alaskan knife, and they're a semicircle, often made out of used saw blades, and they have a handle on one side, and then it gets more or less triangular, semicircular handle at the top. And they're great for skinning out, for breaking down, taking off silver skin. If you get why do you have stuff falling from the ceiling? I don't think I want to know. Anyhow, so what I have to work with here, because it's what I have to work with, evidently it's what I have clean as well, because I'm missing some things. I also have a ceramic small knife because this is going to take some small getting into's. Oh, I want to move that too. That's paper. I don't want that near the meat. That was my scratch pad you just saw me take off with. And it occurs to me that I should probably grab a bowl or something to diaper lambs for spinning. Well, see, lambs are a fairly clean poop. Not like chickens. Chickens are just nasty. Lamb, on the other hand, is pretty dry usually. Alright, I've fielded a couple of bowls to put things in. Over there, out of my reach. Well, this is interesting. So I literally have, let's see, this is halal. It's imported from Australia. You can see we've got shoulder, leg, part of the neck. It's got a decent amount of meat on it. Spine going down here, rib area there. I'm rusty. It's been a really long time. Oh my gosh, ducks are the worst. It's been a really long time since I did any butchering, so this could get messy. I actually had a moment where I was thinking, I could just take this up intact and cook it whole like this, and that would be a whole lot easier. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to try and figure out once I got into this little guy here is what I want to do about various parts of this. Well, let's see what they've done there. Not sure that's how I would have done it. They've basically taken a saw and bisected this and then cut there. So I think what I want to do is come in here. It's still partly frozen, which I wanted, but it's going to make it a little interesting to break down because it's frozen, and that means I don't have any pliability or flexibility there at the shoulder joint. I might not be able to do this right now. It is still more frozen than I thought it was going to be. Now, we'll start on the other side. I'll get into this at least. What I'm going to do with the bones, there's not a whole lot going on there. What I'm planning on doing with the bones, and I might be planning on doing with the whole thing, is roasting them and working with it from there. And I'm actually looking at this and wondering if I want to just cook the thing intact, marinate it like this, and then throw it on the grill tomorrow and cook it. Might do that. I got into this and I'm looking at it and I don't have a lot of meat going on here. More on the other side of this neck. There's not a lot going on this side. I think by the time I really get into this guy, I'm not going to have a whole lot left. It'll be easier to pull cooked meat off the bone. So, perils of Pauline? Yeah, partly frozen is easier to cut up, Mom, and that's actually what I was thinking with this, was that I would be able to get in here and cut it down a little bit better if it was partly frozen. Fair amount of silver skin and fat there. The thing about fat is it's where the flavor is. The thing about fat is where the flavor is, and in a nice bit of game, you probably don't necessarily want that. It's been banged against something while it was frozen here. You can kind of see how it's chipping away there. Maybe. Question is, it's not a lot. There's almost nothing there on the ribs, which is what I figured. So, Yeah, that's frozen. I'm not going to be able to get into that. I can get to the elbow joint and that's about it. And the ribs. You're seeing me figures out things, right? So, yes, slicing tenderloin when it's partly frozen means you can get really nice slices. And in general, when you're butchering, if it's partly frozen, it's a whole lot easier to deal with. Yeah, what the heck. I might as well, yes. And here's where I say the reason I didn't want to do this on camera is because talking and trying to do this at the same time, I'm feeling where my knife blade is because I don't have any of my good butchering knives. Talking and trying to do this at the same time is going to get a little hairy, and I'd rather not cut myself and waste all this lovely lamb. Well, that's not so bad. So my plan for the lamb bones, once I get this meat off of it mostly, is to roast it and then to use the roasted bones for making stock. Roasting first before making stock because, little bugger, because that way they'll have more flavor. Of course, what I'm going to do with roasted lamb stock, don't know off the top of my head. That'll probably be a fun one to noodle around with. Alright, there we go. Yeah, I know I'm cutting towards myself. That's why I was worried about cutting myself. I've got pretty much everything that I was going to get there. So I am not going to be looking at the chat for a while, just so y'all know. I'm trying to figure out where my shoulder is and where I start there. There's the technical, I know where muscles attach, and then there's the, I have to feel where the muscles attach. There we go. Peel that right off there. Also, blade scraping on bone is a sensation. Mind you, this is a ceramic blade, so it's a little bit different sensation than steel on bone. Good thing this is going to be going on skewers because I am breaking it down the hard way. But I'm not trying for any cuts because I'm going to be skewering this meat. So I'm not actually trying to do this all pretty and get it off nicely. I'm feeling and poking for trying to get the meat off the bone. There we go. Yep. Real frozen right down in there still. My fingers are cold. This is why I like an ulu. You can get right down in there with the corner and just slide it along. This little knife works okay, but and I don't want to get too much of the connective tissue. That's not good eats either. So this is probably kind of boring, actually, I'm afraid. That's the, making you nervous, Koala? This is why I am being very careful about my cut, because I'm very aware of where my fingers are, where the blade is, and I'm not moving in such a way that I'm going to lose control of the blade. So I'm very unlikely to cut myself as long as I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, which is why I'm not looking at the camera. Yeah, the leverage is very different with an ulu. Hey, sweetheart. You gonna come talk to people?
No.
No? What are you doing?
I'm looking for something.
What are you looking for?
The better meat knife. That is not the good meat knife.
No, I know it's not the good meat knife, but it's what I had clean. So as I was saying earlier, I'm using what was clean and available to me.
Where did they go?
I don't know.
I smell the fine hand of the boy in this.
I do as well, but I wasn't going to try and fix it while I was doing...
Live stream, yeah.
Yes. And now that I've committed to butchering, I'm committed to butchering. It needs to get done. I'm not sure about that meat inside the rib bones. At least not with this knife, anyway.
That's a possibility.
The difference between the other generation, yeah, probably a better knife, Koala. I am missing a lot of my kitchen stuff. I kind of alluded to that earlier. Yeah, thank you. I don't want that one. That one, yes.
That one's a very good meat knife.
Not for what I'm doing, it's not. It's too big. I am working in little teeny spaces inside this lamb's shoulder.
That's what you have an axe for.
But it's frozen, so I don't want to go chopping away at it too much right now. Okay, he's going to go chopping away at it.
Just a piece or two to get it out to where you can work on it.
I just want to get to that joint, and then I can get in there without mutilating the meat too much. I can actually take the joint apart with this.
Torture makes the meat taste better.
Torture makes the meat taste better. Yes. That would be my husband's input. Alright. The concept of the whole, alright. It's frozen, and I'm trying to figure out where the joint is. Because I can't feel it because it's frozen. Alright, I've got shoulder socket is there. Sometimes I'm too stubborn for my own good. Sometimes. Who has butchered more meat, Sanford or Cedar? That would be Cedar.
Depends on your definition of the word butcher.
Don't have space to do this properly. Damn it. Yes. Butchering out with a Swiss Army knife would indeed be a pain in the butt. I don't have space to even swing that thing properly. And I'm afraid I'm going to break something. So I'm just going to break it out.
I can break it.
What?
I can break it. I can use the cleaver. I can break it.
Well, do you want to get in here and use the cleaver and break up my elbow joint?
Yeah, if I do, you have to not complain about the shape it's in.
Well, it isn't pretty, but it's coming off the bone. Oh, poor Gabe. There's one thing I never made my kids do was participate in butchering. It was one of those things that I figured if they wanted to, they could, but I wasn't going to make them. I wasn't given much choice. First time I butchered, I was like, I was probably 6. So with my kids, I was basically like, all right, if you want to take part, you can. I'm not going to hide what I'm doing from you. Yay. This is a hot mess. I knew it was going to be, though. I don't have the tools. I don't have the space. I would not have chosen to buy a whole thing of lamb like this, but it was kind of a done deal for me. So, I will make it work. Well, he could be judgmental and probably learn how not to do this. With the cleaver, I didn't get on the joint, so I didn't break the joint. Which is what I'm doing right now, is working around the joint. And all of this meat that I've got in my hand is very frozen. And it's going to need broken out further because it is... I can't get under this. That's the problem. Oh, it'll thaw now. There we go. I've got meat under there I can't get to because it's frozen. And oddly enough, I would probably be more comfortable doing this with an axe or a tomahawk because I'm a lot more comfortable with those. The cleaver and I are still reaching an understanding. On the other hand, I'm going to have a decent amount of lamb meat to do what I need to do with it. Because that is not coming off right now. I want to get into this collar here. Oh, that's so frozen. Lovely. Well, I was, I could walk, Dad. I was not young enough that I could not walk yet. I was pretty darn young. Of course, nobody watching this video is thinking I know anything about butchering. Because I am literally butchering this poor damn lamb. All I want to do is make meat on a stick. I had forgotten that I had done a cut my own throat dibbler rendition of meat on a stick on my blog a couple years back. That was fun to go back and read. There's my joint. And some nice fat. Don't want that. Nice fat right around the collar there. Not really what I want, but that's okay. Slivers of meat. Because I'm going to be threading all this on a kukri probably would work as a Mom, you have a kukri? Why am I not surprised? Anyhow, I will be dropping this when I've got it broken down even more because right at the moment I'm looking at the time and it's about that time, so I think I will wash my hands and say goodbye to y'all, and then I am going to toss this lamb in the oven and roast what I haven't been able to cut off of it, chunk up what I've got, and get it in the marinade. So I have a souvlaki marinade all mixed up behind me, and I will be putting this in it and some boneless pork so I don't have more butchering to do. But I appreciate you all putting up with me, and I am going to scrub my hands and get this lamb finished up. Well,
tell me that's lamb on your finger, not your own blood.
It is lamb on my finger. I have not cut myself. There are no cuts. Yes, I realized I probably looked like I was going to cut myself, but like I said, controlled knife work, being very aware of where everything was all the time, and next time let the lamb thaw a little bit longer. Honey, can you do me a favor and end the stream so they don't have to sit here and stare at my behind while I wash my hands?
How do I end the stream?
Just move the cursor to that little red end stream button down there, or you can talk to them for a minute while I wash my hands.
I'll talk to them for a minute while you wash your hands. I'm tall enough they can't see my ugly face, so you know, it's interesting. It's interesting with your wife and you being different heights. There are things that are perfect for her, and I'm going, okay, I can't see that low. Of course, she always helps me get things off the top shelf, so it works out.
The top shelf? You mean the bottom shelf?
Well, she asked me to get. No, I don't get stuff off the bottom shelf. I get them off the upper ones.
Oh, right. And I get it off the bottom shelf.
Yeah, well, you know. There you go. You have a live stream again. You have clean hands.
All right, folks. I will see you all next week, and I will have all my fingers